Picture this. You're a proud Luftwaffe pilot who has spent years bombing Allied cities. You've been told America is weak, disorganized, barely holding together. Your propaganda has convinced you that Americans are soft, their industry chaotic, their military incompetent. Then you get captured. As your prison train screeches to a halt in the spring of 1943, you expect to see a broken nation, bombed-out stations, ragged soldiers, faces lined with hunger and desperation. But when those train doors slide open at an American airfield, what meets your eyes isn't weakness. It's something that will haunt you for the rest of your life. Rows upon rows of gleaming aircraft stretching to the horizon. Hangars painted fresh and spotless. Runways longer than anything you've ever seen. The overwhelming scent of fuel and oil. Not rationed drops, but rivers of abundance. And a sound that makes your blood run cold. Engines roaring in perfect rhythm, never stopping, never resting, like a mechanical heartbeat of unstoppable power. In that moment, every lie the Reich told you begins to crumble. The lies they fed, German pilots. Let me take you inside the Nazi propaganda machine that shaped these men's minds. For years, German pilots had been fed a steady diet of lies about American weakness, the Nazi story. America was soft and decadent there. Soldiers couldn't fight without luxuries American. Industry was chaotic and inefficient. The mongrel race could never match. German precision democracy made them weak and disorganized based on historical records from captured German documents and post-war interrogations. These pilots genuinely believed they were fighting an inferior enemy. Oberlieutenant Hans Keller, documented in U.S. Army intelligence files, later admitted, "We were taught that America was a giant made of paper, impressive from far away, but ready to collapse at the first real test." They had no idea they were about to witness the most powerful industrial machine in human history. The first glimpse of American power when captured Luftwaffe pilots arrived at American airfields. The psychological impact was immediate and devastating, historical. Records from POW debriefing reports show the German prisoners expected to find bombed-out facilities, shortage of equipment signs of a nation struggling to survive. Instead, they found abundance beyond their comprehension. From U.S. Army Air Force's documentation, airfields with perfect runways stretching for miles, hangars filled with aircraft in pristine condition, ground crews working with precision and efficiency, the constant sound of engines, production that never stopped. One captured pilot wrote in his diary, later found by American intelligence, "The smell of gasoline hit me like a physical blow. Not the precious drops we hoarded in Germany, but oceans of fuel being used as if it would never run out." Inside the American war machine, what these German pilots witnessed was the full power of American industrial mobilization, and it shattered every assumption they'd held about their enemy. Documented. Observations from POW interrogation reports. The production. Miracle B-24 bombers rolling off. Assembly lines faster than Germany could shoot them down. Maintenance. Crews replacing entire engines. In under 30 minutes, supply trucks arriving with endless crates of parts and equipment. Workers who seemed calm, efficient, almost casual about their overwhelming productivity. Captain Otto Weiss, whose interrogation records survive in national archives, observed, "They work like ants, but each knows exactly his role." In Germany, such repairs took all day. Here, it was routine. The scale of abundance. Mechanics wiping their hands on clean rags and throwing them away, without thought. Lunch boxes filled with thick sandwiches, fresh fruit, real coffee, electric lights blazing everywhere. No blackout curtains, no rationing of power. Soldiers changing into fresh uniforms daily. For men from a nation where every scrap of cloth was precious, this casual abundance was more shocking than any bomb. The human encounters that changed everything. According to documented cases in military archives, the most powerful moments came through small, human interactions that German pilots never expected. The medical ward incident. From U.S. Army Medical Corps records, Hans Keller was treated for a wrist injury by Corporal James Walker, an African-American orderly. For a man raised under Nazi racial ideology, this was earth-shattering. Keller's diary entry, preserved in archives, reads, "A black soldier in charge of my care. The world is not as I was told." The photograph moment. From POW observation reports, Captain Weiss watched American mechanics joking while working. One had a photograph in his toolbox, a smiling wife with 2 children. The casual humanity hit harder than enemy fire. The children's wave. Documented in escort duty reports. When prisoners were marched past a local school, children waved and smiled with innocent curiosity. For hardened officers expecting hatred, this kindness was devastating. One pilot wrote in a confiscated letter, "They smile while they eat. They smile while they work. Even when they speak to us, there is no venom. What do we fight against? Their bombs or their lives?" The Psychological Breaking Point by summer 1943 documented psychological evaluations show the German pilots were experiencing severe cognitive dissonance. The evidence was overwhelming. America wasn't weak. It was overwhelmingly powerful. Americans weren't cruel. They were professionally. Respectful democracy hadn't made them soft. It had made them efficient. Their abundance wasn't luck. It was systematic superiority. Barrack arguments from intelligence surveillance reports, hardcore. Nazis still insisted it was all theater, staged to break their will, but others couldn't deny what their eyes showed them every day. Hans Keller's preserved diary. "I feel as though my uniform grows heavier each morning. We were told America was decadent, a hollow giant. But I see them build and laugh and live, and I wonder whether our sacrifice has been in vain." Captain Weiss, once defiant, began questioning everything. If our enemies live like this, what truth have we been fighting for? The transformation. Through small moments, historical records show that transformation came through accumulation of small observations. The lunchbox. A German pilot observed an American airman eating thick sandwiches with ham and cheese, an apple, chocolate wrapped in foil. He later confided, "I felt more defeated by that chocolate than by losing my aircraft." The easy authority. Pilots watched American sergeants and privates work together with casual respect. No shouting, no fear, suggestions welcomed from subordinates. Keller noted, "They speak to each other as if rank does not separate worth. In our world that would be unthinkable. The endless supplies, trucks arriving daily with labeled crates, each part already assigned before planes even landed. From intelligence reports, it is as though each bolt and wire has already been assigned its place before the plane even lands." The statistics that tell the story from U.S. War Department records. Over $371,000 German POWs passed through American camps located across more than 500 sites. Nationwide detailed psychological evaluations conducted on thousands post-war interviews tracking long-term attitude changes. What the numbers couldn't capture. The intimate psychological fractures within each man. The quiet re-evaluations. The moments of doubt that would shape their post-war lives. Production figures that stunned the Germans. American factories producing one B-24 bomber every 63 minutes at peak. Total U.S. aircraft production, 324,750. Planes during the war. German total production, 19,871 planes. The mathematical reality was undeniable. America was outproducing Germany nearly 3 to the letters that never made it home. From censorship records and confiscated correspondence, many German pilots wrote letters describing their shock, but most were never sent due to military censorship. Preserved fragments include, "I do not know whether to hate them or to envy them. Our officers eat less than this American private's lunch. I do not know who I am anymore, a soldier of Germany or a witness to another. Truth." One pilot's complete letter, intercepted and archived. "Dear sister, I cannot tell you where I am. But I must tell you that everything we were told about the Americans was wrong. They treat us better than our own officers sometimes did. The long-term impact post-war studies and interviews reveal the lasting psychological impact. Those who returned to Germany. Many became advocates for German-American reconciliation. Some struggled with guilt over their changed perspectives. Others never spoke of their American experience. Those who stayed. Several thousand German POWs chose to remain in America after the war. They built new lives in the country they once tried to destroy. Their children grew up as Americans, carrying stories of transformation. From 1970s, 1990s oral history. Projects. Former POWs consistently cited specific moments. The abundance of food and supplies, respectful treatment despite enemy status, casual efficiency of American workers, children waving instead of showing hatred. The historical lesson. What the documented German POW experience reveals about American power. It wasn't just military might. It was systematic superiority, industrial capacity that seemed limitless, organizational efficiency married to democratic values, abundance so great they could afford to be generous to enemies, cultural confidence that didn't require cruelty to prove strength. The psychological impact was more devastating than bombing. Challenged core Nazi ideological assumptions, demonstrated democracy's practical advantages, showed that American softness was actually sophisticated strength, proved that abundance and efficiency could coexist. From historical analysis, these POW experiences contributed significantly to post-war German acceptance of democracy and alliance with the West. The ultimate irony, the greatest irony, documented in military records. Nazi Germany had spent enormous resources on propaganda, portraying America as weak. But when German pilots actually encountered American power firsthand, it accomplished what no Allied propaganda could. It converted enemies into witnesses of democratic strength. The casual abundance, respectful treatment, and overwhelming industrial capacity demonstrated that America wasn't fighting from weakness. It was fighting from such overwhelming strength that it could afford to be humane to those trying to destroy it. As one former pilot reflected decades later, we came as conquerors and found ourselves spectators to a power we never understood. The real defeat wasn't on the battlefield, it was in the realization that everything we'd believed was wrong. Conclusion. When reality shattered propaganda. The experience of German Luftwaffe pilots in American POW camps represents one of history's most dramatic examples of how direct experience can shatter ideological indoctrination. These men arrived, expecting a weak, disorganized enemy, brutal treatment, as prisoners, signs of American desperation. Instead, they found industrial power beyond imagination, professional, respectful treatment, casual abundance in the middle of history's greatest war. Transformation was documented in thousands of interrogation reports, confiscated letters and diaries, post-war psychological studies, oral history projects decades later. The lesson transcends World War II. When societies are confident in their values and strong in their foundations, they don't need to brutalize enemies to prove their superiority. They can demonstrate it through competence, abundance, and humanity. For the German pilots who experienced this transformation, they learned that true strength isn't measured by how cruelly you can treat your enemies, but by how much humanity you can maintain even while defeating them. The runways that never slept, the engines that never stopped, the abundance that never ended. These became symbols not of American wealth, but of American confidence. And that confidence, more than any weapon, won the hearts and minds of men who had come as enemies and left as witnesses to the power of democratic values in action.